Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Appreciate your support as always. Shout out to the 19. Hope you're having a fantastic day. As you probably know, the much anticipated, much talked about first meeting between the Caitlin Clark and that Paige Bueckers lady in Dallas is to happen tonight, or I should say, was to happen tonight. Dallas even moved the game from their little tiny arena to accomplish all the demand for tickets for Paige Bueckers. I'm sorry, for Caitlin Clark, because if Paige Bueckers had that demand, all the games would be playing. They would be playing in the bigger arena. Unfortunately, Caitlin Clark not going to be playing tonight, and despite Paige Bueckers being Caitlin Clark before Caitlin Clark, ticket prices are dropping. It's odd. It's really, really odd considering everything that I've heard about Paige Bueckers. Why would ticket prices be dropping simply because Caitlin Clark is not playing? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? But as you can see here, again, another reminder for the WNBA, who is fighting this, kicking and screaming and doing Caitlin Clark dirty at every single opportunity they get. Because again, it doesn't matter as long as they get NBA money. That is always going to be the crux of the problem. We can talk about, well, look how ratings plummeted 55% when Caitlin Clark was injured before, and they don't have to care. They don't have to care, and the CBA, and they think they earn all these great contracts, and on and on and on, and they don't have to wake up to the reality of it being about Caitlin Clark and not about them, because the NBA will put the money in their pockets. So they don't have to adjust as much as, and I do it too, as much as all of us talk about, oh, well, the league's got to figure out that Caitlin Clark is the draw and it's not about them and they need to capitalize it and they should, the officiating needs to change and all of this other stuff. That doesn't matter to them. These are players who have never had to put a good product on the court, have never had to put themselves out there to be likable, to try and win over new fans, to grow the league enough to where it's profitable. That has never been part of the deal because they've always gotten the NBA money. It's to the point where I don't think a lot of the players even understand that. They think the league has been just fine as they've lived in their little bubble and played before, 147 fans, who half of who got in free and the other half who got in for tickets for $1.99. They loved that. It was their little social club. They got to use basketball as an excuse to get paid more than most Americans to play 4 months out of the year and to get together with their friends that think like them and look like them and act like them. And they've never ever had to actually make money, which is why in another video I went a little like nuts when, Sophie Cunningham, and it's people think I'm getting mad at Sophie. It wasn't about Sophie. I think Sophie knew what she was reading was kind of ridiculous, which is why she's like, I'm reading a prepared statement, because that whole gibberish about it being a business is ridiculous. It's never been a business. If it was a business, it would have folded long ago anyway. But as we can see here, Caitlin Clark's status uncertain. I think she'll be out. I saw some things where people going crazy about being a way that they're doing load management for Caitlin Clark by not having her play so she can play tonight. The whole back-to-back thing that you got a lot of in the NBA. Oh man, I hope it wasn't like that. If it's truly a groin injury, there's no way Caitlin Clark plays tonight. In fact, if it is a groin injury that's very typical as opposed to like a little tweak, I've had little tweaks there where I don't really miss anything, a couple of days of rest and it's all good. When you get a true groin injury, you're going to be out for a long time. The groin plays an essential role in all movement, especially someone like a basketball player. So it could be a long, long time before Caitlin Clark comes back. And of course, we have to speculate on that because we get nothing from the Indiana Fever, nothing from the front office, nothing from the coach, nothing from the league. But as you can see here, with Caitlin Clark's status unclear, Fever Wings Get in ticks down 40%. 40%, despite, again, Paige Bueckers playing. And don't get it twisted. I'm not going after Paige. I'm going after all the people and what they say about Paige compared to Caitlin Clark. They're setting Paige up for this stuff. And then when we say this, they can come back and talk about how you're hating on Paige. I know the entire playbook. Come on, they're very predictable people. The low IQ, the doorknobs. You know what I'm saying. Friday was supposed to be one of the WNBA's marquee matchups of the year, the first professional game between Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers, but a groin injury to Clark may delay the festivities. Clark has been ruled out for the Indiana Fever's home game Thursday. We know about that. Against the what? Against the who? Wait, what? I'm sorry. Oh, come on, front office sports. Seriously? Against the, how does this get published? I know I'm completely switching gears, but do you see what I'm reading? I didn't finish it. It says this is why I was like processing it through. I'm like, I did watch them play the Sparks last night, right? They did lose to the Sparks against the. I mean, this is not acceptable. This has to go through a lot of people. Okay, this is not me where I'm by myself and I do everything and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability to bring you truth and to bring you my opinion and make it clear when it's my opinion. But how does front office sports get in that it was the Connecticut Sun? Seriously? Seriously? Stephanie White has said day to day, we know that. And a huge drop in ticket prices for Friday's game, which the Wings moved to the American Airlines Center, home of the NBA's Mavericks, capacity about 20,000, more than 3 times of College Park Center, which is the Wings' usual home. Based on SeatGeek, the get-in ticket price is down to $115 on Thursday afternoon, down 40% from $190 on Thursday morning, hours before the Fever announced Clark's injury. Oh no, I don't want to do that right now. I already did that. Why are you even asking me about that? Come on now. Uh, Chicago Sky. Oh wait, did this just shift this whole thing on me? Yeah, here we go. Okay, so the number is still about 4 times more expensive than the get-in price for the Wings' next home game against the Mystics. That's a shocker. Sky moved their game against the Fever on June 7, and we're still able to draw a sellout crowd of 19,496 despite Clark not playing. I love this. So the ticket prices dropped about 70% after news of Clark's quad injury was announced. So those tickets, almost all of those tickets for that Chicago Sky game were sold long before Clark got hurt. And then you saw the resale ticket prices absolutely plummeted because a lot of people were like, you know what, I'm not spending money on this. I'm not going to watch. And so ticket prices plummeted. But again, another reminder of how important Clark is to the WNBA, despite the fact that they don't understand it, and that even players like Paige Bueckers, I don't want to look. I don't want to say Paige isn't a draw, but what I'm saying is these other players who may be a draw in the WNBA are not in the same universe as Caitlin Clark. And without Caitlin Clark, you are going to see the ratings plummet again. You're going to see attendance plummeting again. You're going to see ticket prices plummet again. And having this happen now is the worst possible thing for the WNBA, despite the fact that they seem to be encouraging it. Because how do you negotiate a new CBA when the league, and again, I don't have faith that the league actually has the league's best interest at heart. I think they may just, the media obviously is going to come out and all their stories are going to favor the players, and you're going to hear everything about women's sports and equality and gender pay gap and all these buzzwords. And so the league might just cave to that, just like what happened with U.S. Soccer, who caved despite an actual, finally, a legal ruling by a judge that said the women of the USSF for the national team didn't have a case. The USSF still caved, but I don't know. That's an entirely different story. But anyway, so you may get the league who's going to give the players a lot of what they want anyway, but it's clear in reality that it doesn't look good for them. So anyway, we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see how long it takes for ratings to come out for last night. I think you still had a lot of Fever fans watching, but as it goes on and on, if this is a real groin injury, Clark could be out for a long, long time, including, by the way, not playing in the All-Star game in Indy. Just saying. That is a possibility if this is a real groin injury. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, appreciate you checking out this video. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel as we move over 13,000. Fantastic, amazing. Thank all of you so much. I also have a couple. I got a couple of new jerseys, t-shirts, merch, whatever you want to call it, coming out that I think you'll enjoy. The first one of the 19 collection. Got some other stuff around Caitlin Clark that I think you might like. In fact, I'm going to put up in a poll. I have a couple variations of one that I want to do, and I'm curious what y'all think. So look out for that later today as well. I will talk to you later. Go have the day you deserve. Yeah, that's it.